Alright, so still no front brake. I'm going to run all the way around the big block because I'm not entirely certain my carburetor is jetted quite right. So run around the block, see how she acts, and possibly reach at the carb when I get back. Right there, right at the bottom. So I might want a bigger slow jet, which of course is the one that's a giant pain in the ass to replace. Actually, it kind of seems just a little bit lean throughout the range. Might go one bigger on both jets. There it was, right there. Now that we've ridden this around a little bit, let's go ahead and read the plugs. These are the same plugs it was running fat on with the old carburetor. So we'll see that, if we can get it to focus, it's kind of black down inside, but the porcelain is really white, and the electrode is super clean. So I can tell that this is running pretty lean, and the little bit of a dead spot right off idle is telling me that my intermediate jet is too lean, and how white that porcelain is and how clean that electrode is and almost heat discolored, we're still running way too lean with the way I've got the carb jetted right now. So I'm going to bring the intermediate jet up 2 sizes, which will still be within the range on the S&S chart, and I'm going to bring the main jet up 1 size, which is still going to be actually a little bit smaller than the chart calls for. So we'll go ahead and do that, and then we'll run it around the block a time or two and see how it acts. All right, air cleaner cover's off. Let's get the fuel line off and out of the way. And we'll get the backing plate off, and then we can get the float bowl off. You don't need to remove any of this to do the main jet, but unfortunately I need to remove all of this to do the float bowl and the intermediate jet. So there's my breather tube. A few lines already loose. So I got a pan under here to catch the fuel because there's going to be some. That old Loctite out of there. Oh, there goes my gasket. Just trying to get this breather hose off carefully. And maybe I need to loosen that screw up a little more. There it is. So now I can get to all my screws. Make sure you turn the gas off before you do this, or you'll wind up with a hell of a mess. I'll tighten that just a bit because there was some seepage around it. Okay, that looks good. Just gonna pop that hose off and get it out of the way. Oops, that's not where I wanted to put that screw. Now I'll just ever so carefully bring this straight down. That float ball holds a lot of fuel. Here's my intermediate jet. If I'm careful, I can do this without removing the gasket. Oh, looks like the gasket's coming out anyway. That's fine. And if you're careful, you can reuse this gasket. So there's a 265 in there now. So 2 sizes up is a 295. That might be a little big, but we're going to try it anyway. Because I can't quite get it to idle quite the way I want it to either. It idles good, but it seemed like it was running fat with the 280. But I think it was just because my main jet was so big before. And I know my main jet's too small now. Oops. Well, let's just put a wrench on that while we do it. There we go. Motion tube's good and tight. You don't have to ram these jets in super tight, just snug. They're just brass. Now this is a 64. So I'm going to bump that up to a 66. It had a 68. It had a 68 when I first put it together because that was the smallest one in the kit. So we'll try that. So let me very carefully put my gasket back on. And I'll have to sort of dial in the idle and idle mixture again once we get her back together and get her fired up, but that's okay. Just takes a second. Now, there we go. There it is. Now this long screw goes on the back side of the accelerator pump. The other three screws are all the same, but the long one goes on the back side of the accelerator pump. There's a kit you can get for these. I think TC Bros sells them. And they're extended screws with a 5/16 hex head on the end to make it easier to pull a float bowl for rejetting. That's tight. That's tight. That's tight. And that's tight. Let's check all four again just to be sure. Gotta be careful because these screws are kind of soft and you don't want to mangle them because it makes it harder to get them in and out the next time. All right, now I'll put my overflow hose back. And my main fuel line. This also does not need to be super tight, just enough that the hose doesn't easily twist around. It's not pressurized, it's just gravity feed. So now I'm going going to turn the gas on and make sure we don't have any leaks. We do not appear to have any leaks. So let's put the backing plate and everything else back on. So making sure I've got my gasket properly oriented. And a little blue Loctite on my screws. And carefully dropping all the screws on the floor, because that's a necessary step, apparently. I can see through this hole, and my gasket is there, so that's correct. I need to make sure my little fork goes over my fuel enrichener lever. Prick. All right, now that I've dropped all the screws on the floor twice, we should be good to go. Oh, nope, had to drop the gasket too. All right, everything's correctly placed once again. All right, that one started. That one started. And that one started. We can run them in. That's all lined up pretty good. And I'm just going to snug this down. Now, gasket's all in place. These 3 screws are in, and my breather hole is still open. And my little fork is over the fuel enrichment plunger. So, little blue Loctite on the breather bolts. These do not go all the way through into the breather. They are a blind hole. That's why they're so short. That's tight. That's tight. There we go. Now my little breather hose is in place. I can tighten the hose clamp on that. That's good. So, might as well put it the rest of the way together. There we go. Let's set her down, dial in the idle and idle mixture, and then we'll take it for a ride. so I've rejetted the carb again. Oh, that's much better. Much better power. I went with a 0310 intermediate jet, and I'm at I think a 66 or a 68. I'm at a 68 main jet because it was running lean still. She's running much better now. Still don't have much of a front brake. I gotta get a different master cylinder. A lot better power now. Yeah, I think I've got her jetted right now. This thing used to struggle to get up to 60. Now it has no problems. All right, so we're back in the shop and on the lift. The last section of the video was to illustrate that the bike's running good. It's not coughing and stumbling off idle. It's got good power. It's got good roll-on power. It's acting like it should. So now we're back in the shop. We're going to read the plugs again and see what the spark plugs tell us. Because we could still be running lean or we could be running fat. We're about to find out. But first, if you stuck with me through the whole video up to this point, thank you for sticking around and watching. And if you don't mind, if you're still here, you must like what you're seeing. So give me a like, throw something in the comments because I like questions and comments. And maybe subscribe too if you want. But thanks for sticking around. Let's see what the plugs tell us. I haven't looked at them yet, so we're going to find out together. There we go. We got that nice kind of golden brown color now. They're not like bone white anymore. That's pretty much perfect fuel mixture. It's pretty white on one side, but most of it is kind of golden brown. There's a little bit of carbon on it, but not much. You can't really ask for much better than that. So that, we'll look at the other spark plug too. If it ever comes out. That one's the same. Not too dark, not bone white, kind of a nice golden brown. I don't know how well the color's coming through in the camera, but that's what we're looking for right there. So I think we're dead on with our fuel mixtures and our jetting. And she's happy, and the way it runs on the road confirms that, but it's nice to double check because it could have been running still a little lean and we could have still got a little more power out of it, or it could have been running a little too fat and we could have still backed it off and got a little more power out of it. But right there, that's, from what the plugs are telling me, that's as good as it's going to get. And this is kind of a long, tedious process. There's better ways to do it now than just reading the spark plugs. This is kind of how it was done in the 70s, and it's still relevant. But now you can take it to a dyno, and they can use a gas analyzer and read the fuel mixture through the exhaust with a gas analyzer. And you've been able to do that since the late 70s or early 80s. And that's also still relevant. But now we use wideband oxygen sensors and watch it in real time on a computer screen. And you can see your fuel mixtures that way. But I don't have a dyno, and I don't have a gas analyzer, and I don't have a fancy setup to stick wideband oxygen sensors in this and read them in real time. So I'm just doing it the old school way, like it's been done for 60, 70 years or maybe longer, and it still works and it still gets the job done. So anyway, fuel's dialed in. The last thing left to do is to scrounge up a better brake caliper, or sorry, not caliper, brake master cylinder that'll operate the big brake caliper on this, and then she'll be 100% done. But for our purposes for this series, the bike's done. I mean, there are a few more things I'd like to pick away at, and as that happens, there'll be videos, but we're pretty much there now. So I hope you've enjoyed this video series. I hope you're enjoying my channel. Thank you for watching, and have a great day.